Phillies active Friday, Saturday, and will they get one more under their belt? There are reports that they are still looking to add. Bob Wankel joins us from RedOctoberPhilly.com, crossing broad as the Phillies getting ready for a series with the Yankees. They lose another series this weekend, and a lot of questions emerging here, but let's start with the Hayes deal on Friday that we talked about before, and then Saturday they go out and get Carlos Estevez. So are they done, or do you look at a roster that still needs more help?
I think they're two separate questions. Are they done? I don't know. Does this roster still need help? I think yes. I think that they're actively trying to bring in another pitcher. How they do that, I don't know. Maybe they get creative and they go starter. And I know people go, wait, what? Starting pitching? They don't need another starter. I think that there's enough concern over Ranger Suarez. He was delayed out of the All-Star break. He's on the IL again. Other side of the back hurts now. Do you worry about those innings? If there's an ability to bring in a starting pitcher at the right price, do you do that and create a little bit more flexibility and an overflow and decide maybe we make a move off of that? I don't think that they're going to address the offense again. I think that part of it's done, which I do think is a mistake. But I do think that they'll try to add another arm.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you like that way of thinking? Like, is this finished product offensively? I see Brandon Marsh hitting in the 5-hole. I ask you, Bob Wankel, a team that wins the World Series, is Brandon Marsh a 5-hole spot?
No, I don't think so. I think the bigger concern right now is that Brandon Marsh is striking out a ton against just against right-handed pitching, because though he started yesterday against the lefty, he rarely does. Now, maybe they start to give him more looks. He did have a base hit. You got to start somewhere. He's 8 for 52 against left-handed pitching this season. I just think that the idea that Austin Hayes is going to be your everyday left fielder leaves you short. Like, if you went into this and said, Hayes, Marsh, and that is a platoon in left field, and maybe Marsh plays a little bit of center, but there's another guy out there, another viable option that's not named Johan Rojas out there, then I think you have a serious push offensively. As it stands right now, they're going to live and die by their core guys. It's about Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner and Bryce Harper. I get that, but I think that you have a hole out there. I don't think you have enough out there, and I think you need another bat, and they don't. It doesn't appear right now.
Well, haven't they already said this the last couple of years? We're going to go as far as our stars take us, and that hasn't been good enough, right?
Yeah, it's like it makes sense. Like, if you tell me that, like, listen, we're paying Bryce Harper a lot of money and Trey Turner a lot of money and JT Realmuto and Kyle Schwarber and Nick. Yeah, okay, we're only going to go as far as our stars take us. But, like, you can accept that as truth, or you could say, yeah, maybe so. But, like, at the same time, let's do everything we possibly can to protect against maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of these guys going cold all at the same time, much like they did yesterday when their 2 for 6 spots in the order went a combined, 0 for 18? So, like, yeah, if I can make my lineup longer and better at the bottom, why wouldn't I try to do that?
Right. And I the way it looks like right now, Bob, is, and I don't know what you thought about what they gave up to get Estevez. Some people thought they gave up a lot for a rental player. But to me, it kind of says we didn't give up any of the top 3 guys. We're okay with that. They want to do things on their turn. They want to get better. They want to have their cake and eat it too, it almost feels like.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, listen, what they gave up was, depending on who you ask, somewhat significant. It wasn't a nothing deal. I mean, those 2 guys that they traded away are decent prospects who have really good years and probably would have climbed up the rankings considerably over the offseason. So, especially George Klassen, what he's done. I mean, he's had a really good year. That all being said, they still have their top guys. I guess it's a hedge. It's like, let's get to this offseason and see if we have needs or how we might want to address it. Maybe we use some of the capital then. But to me, it's like you are here now in a spot where you should win the division. You could be the 1 seed in the National League, and you have a great chance to win a championship. I'm a little bit surprised if they get through this deadline and they don't use any of those top 4 or 5 prospects to get themselves better for right now.
Yeah, we're talking with Bob Wankel, crossing broad, Red October, Phillies make the 2 moves. If you said that Austin Hayes is your everyday left fielder and Brandon Marsh and Rojas are playing center field the rest of the way, it also seems, Bob, that you're going to be tinkering this lineup all the time, because we saw the other day, Marsh is hitting 5th today, he hit 8th yesterday. I know that was, but you're going to be moving the chess pieces. Today, Hayes is hitting 9th, I think it is, or maybe 8th. But you're moving this all around, which basically says you aren't good enough back there.
Look, you can win a championship moving and jumbling your lineup. You can win a championship with 1 or 2 spots using platoons. You can. But I would agree with you in that you're hitting Hayes 5th one day and 8th the next because you're saying, I don't have a guy that I can just plug in there and let him rip. Like, it's an acknowledgement that in order to get the most out of what we have, we've got to maneuver. We've got to be tactical about it.
Yeah.
We're not just lining up 8-9 guys deep and saying, go get them, boys. So when you do that, it is an acknowledgement that, okay, maybe we have the right pieces, but we've got to play it right. You can sit there and tell me that Austin Hayes is an everyday left fielder. There's really no reason to necessarily believe that, though. Like, they also told us it felt like anyway, that the vibe late last year was we need to get better in the offseason. We need to get better in center field. And then February rolls around and it's, well, Johan Rojas is an everyday center fielder. Just because you say that and you want it to be true doesn't mean that it is. Right. And I feel like that there's a little bit of that right now where it's like, yeah, Austin Hayes is an everyday left fielder. Maybe so, but there's really no evidence that supports that.
Well,
and you can point to, as a former All-Star, like, let me just say this about 2023 All-Stars. You know who else was a 2023 All-Star? Whit Merrifield.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. So, like, you can say something, but it doesn't make it true.
No doubt. And there's a lot. Like, we've had this discussion a lot. I mean, we can, Esteves has had a great half a year. His last, 15 games or so, 7 against the A's, 7 against the Mariners, who have like the worst offense in baseball. Closing games out against those teams, not the same. And, the Phillies 2 years ago, David Robertson was having an unbelievable first half with the Cubs. He came over here and didn't get the job done. So I don't think the Phillies can think that they have shored up that spot. I don't even know that they know that he's their guy in the 9th inning or not yet.
Well, as far as Esteves goes, I mean, you can look back to last year. Again, All-Star, first half is really strong. He struggled in the second half. His numbers ballooned at the end of the year. And I have 2 minor concerns. I like the deal. I think that he automatically becomes a 2B type of option out of that bullpen. If you rank these guys out, you love where Hoffman's at. I still feel really good about Strahm, and I would put Esteves right in that grouping. But like last year, opponents had over a 340 average on balls in play against him, which is pretty high. Mm-hmm. This year, it's down around 200. So, like, is there an element of good fortune in what's going on? Like, I know batting average on balls in play is a little bit oversimplified. Like, if you have nasty stuff and you induce weak contact, of course it's going to be lower. But like right now, there's such a discrepancy year over year that you do wonder, like, is he been the beneficiary of some good luck to this point? And the other thing that I would say, if you're just looking to pick this apart, is he's like striking out basically a batter per inning.
Yeah.
I like guys that are striking out 13 per 9, 12 per 9. And, you get a guy striking out about 9 per 9. You're like, okay, that's okay. So
Bob Wankel and I on the same wavelength here. The strikeouts per 9, I said, not closing guy, man. 9th inning, I need to get the fastball by someone, not hope that the ball doesn't find a spot on the field. I like the move. I think they need it. But to me, it just feels like they still need another move. And I said this all last week. Any of these closers that are coming from these bad teams, I don't know that any of them are the right answer.
Yeah, it's hard to know. And you can be a closer on a team that is 20 games under 500. You can be a closer in Miami. How does that translate to this city on this team with sky-high expectations? Like, that's the thing. If you're going to go out and say, here's Justin Crawford or here's, Aiden Miller, and you're going to go all in and trade away one of these key prospects, we always look at it like this team has a need. It has a hole. And that guy would fit the hole in terms of on-the-field production. What he does is what we need. Let's make that deal. But there's more to it that you have to consider. Like, does he have the right mental makeup? Is he a gamer? Can he take down big pressure moments? And you have to do a lot of homework on that. And certainly the Phillies have. But, like, I'm not going to throw a name out there, but, like, let's just say that there's a lefty reliever, and they could probably use another one. In my opinion, they certainly could. Does that guy check all of those intangibles boxes as well as, hey, he's pretty nasty, he can get guys out from the left side? Because if you're going to part with those marquee pieces, you better check all the boxes.
Yeah, and that's let me get your take then on how the bullpen shapes up with him, the here now. Does he go to the ninth? Does he get the first crack at that? Is Hoffman the guy there, and now he's your eighth inning guy? Is this where do you see the pantheon late in these games? We saw Alvarado give up the home run yesterday, so I can't imagine they're feeling great about him.
Well, so a few things here. If you're Jeff Hoffman having the year that he is, approaching free agency, I think he's a good teammate. I think he wants to win a World Series, and he knows if this deal is going to help them do that, he's going to do what Rob Thompson and this team asks him to do. That being said, I would want to continue to close games as I'm successful at it. I'm good at it. That being said, you need to test roles and you need to see how guys respond. And I just said to you, can you do it in Philly? Can you do it with expectations? If you bring in this piece and you've given up a decent amount to do so, I'd want to throw him right into the fire immediately to see how he responds. So I guess that being said, I would be surprised if he's not getting the bulk of save opportunities here at the end of July and in August to see where it shakes out come the end of September into October. Jeff Hoffman can do it. You think Estevez can do it. Let's find out if he can do it. And then that way we align this thing and optimize it going into the playoffs. As far as Alvarado goes, I'll finish the thought. Listen, he has been a mess in July. 9 appearances. He's given up runs in 5 of them. He's given up 8 earned runs in 8 1/3 innings pitched. I will say this. Before yesterday, his previous 2 outings, he was good. He had better command. He was around the plate. Yesterday, nobody wants to hear this because it was the deciding run. I know nobody wants to hear this, but he actually made a pretty good pitch.
He did.
He was at 98.3 in off the inside part of the plate, and Kwon beat him to it and put a heck of a swing on it. He doesn't give up home runs to lefties. It was sort of fluky. So, it was a bad result yesterday, but I'd like to think that he is sort of maybe figuring it out. But don't quote me on that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And he said after the game, he's like, I don't know how the guy hit the pitch that he hit there. And he's right. It was a good pitch. And sometimes you just got to tip your cap there, but you wonder where the team feels about him. And look, I know you guys take a look at some of the concerns that, listeners out there, the concerns. Did they do enough in the bullpen? I'm not sure. Is the bullpen better today than it was on Friday when they gave up Sir Anthony Dominguez? I would have to say yes, right?
Yes, I would certainly think so. Sir Anthony Dominguez was a good Philly, got a lot of really important outs for this team. I think everybody, generally speaking, hopes that he succeeds.
An unassuming good Philly, by the way. I mean, the guy in 2019 just came out of nowhere. I mean, he was a young kid, and they just threw him in there.
And they don't make that run in 22 without him. There's no question.
No, and if you remember that run in 22, he was not very good in the month of September. I mean, he just got good in October.
Yeah, but he was basically the 5th or 6th option out of the bullpen right now, and you're bringing in a guy who may be your top option or your number 2 option.
Yeah.
So on paper,
do they need to replace Dominguez still?
What's that?
Do they still need to replace Dominguez? Is that a spot that they need to get?
I think it's more about if you're making a move here. I think everything they're doing, it's about kind of getting over the top. So I don't know if bringing in a 6th inning guy per se is what they'd be looking to do. I think it's got to be another guy that you feel like is nasty that can win a specific matchup for you.
But what happens? What happens to the Walker, Turnbull, Phillips, that crew of guys?
Well, right now Phillips is going to get some extended run. I mean, with Ranger Suarez out, I think that he stays in. What Taijuan Walker, they talked about it the other day. I was down there and I covered the game yesterday. And I will say this, there's all this over the weekend, all this coming out about Taijuan Walker, the great in his bullpen, but he still doesn't have a date. There's no date attached to him, when we're going to see him again. So until that happens, I don't know that you can put any stock in what you see in his bullpens right now. And then as far as Spencer Turnbull goes, that guy was on an all-time heater. We haven't seen him in almost 2 months now. So what's he going to look like when he comes back? And by the way, they didn't really have a defined role for him after they bumped him out of the starting rotation. They were using him in these very strange spots, very infrequently. So if Spencer Turnbull comes back later in August, I think you kind of cross your fingers and see if you can find a role for him because you didn't when you had him out there last time. So I don't know how much you can count on him right now.
I want to quickly dive back into the bullpen here because there's one guy I forgot to ask you. A guy that I like a lot is Kerkering, but are they losing some faith in Kerkering in some of the bigger moments?
I think he's had a rough go of it his last handful of appearances, but I think the larger body of work this season would still, suggest that they're going to be confident in him moving forward. But they have some work to do with him. Like, do they rein it in a little bit? Do they kind of take him out of some of the higher leverage spots? Do they try to let him reset? I mean, the arm is there. Like, he's nasty.
He's got great stuff. It just feels like the command in moment.
He sort of. Yeah, I think that the command of the moment, the command of his pitches more recently hasn't been quite the same. But, there's a little bit of like a rookie wall here too. And he's going to have to push through it, and they're going to have to help him navigate that. And I think it's not unreasonable to expect that he will be able to do so.
Yeah, I know that. Look, I thought Kerkering, for me, I would have liked to seen them give him the chance to close games out like in April to see how he handled. But I know him; he got a late start, and I don't know that they were ever thinking of that. But I would have liked to see, hey, close some games out in April, see what happens here. And now it's kind of like he's in a weird role where I guess he comes in these like 6th, 7th innings, and if his all speed stuff's not working, he's all over the place sometimes.
Right.
And those are the days where he really struggles. It just seems that he does not trust his fastball enough.
I think that's a fair assessment. And look, what a weird time for this deadline to happen. I mean, because they are at their low point, other than the first 6 games of the season. It's kind of like everything is leaking oil all at the same time here. The inconsistent offense, the bullpen. There's questions in the back of the rotation because of the injury issues. So it's like, here you go, Dave. Try to figure out what you really need to address and what would be an overreaction to address. And that's part of this.
Yeah, and look, it's a long season, but over the last, 40 games, they've been pretty average.
They have been very average, basically since London. They're 10-11 this month. Their bullpen ERA entering yesterday was 6.41. It was the worst in baseball. Some of that was inflated, obviously, because of that debacle of a game going into the All-Star break against the A's, both Michael Mercado and Garrett Stubbs getting pummeled. But, I mean, the bullpen has not been good in the month of July, and I do think, and I guess I would be surprised before the deadline if they don't add another pitcher to this mix. That would surprise me.
How about the Nugget? I was listening to the game yesterday on the radio, and I didn't know this one at all, but they have 0 RBIs from pinch hitters this year on U.S. soil. That's it, 0. They're hitting 148 with 0 RBI from their pinch hitters. And I know, but I just go back to Jake Cave ending the season for you, and that's all I'll say for that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Right now, if you're going into the playoffs and you say, all right, we're going to start Hayes and we're going to start Marsh, what are your options off the bench? Presuming that Bryson Stott is at second base, you have Edmundo Sosa, you have Johan Rojas, Garrett Stubbs. Not, Weston Wilson's got a roster spot right now. Is he going to be here next month?
I'm just saying, is that something they're overlooking? That's all. Is that something they're overlooking?
I mean, it's fair. I mean, they have been dismal off the bench this year. I mean, I know that the importance of that has been diminished a little bit here with the, no pitchers hitting anymore, but you still have situations where you need it, especially because, as we said at the top, they are not defined with 3 studs across the board out there. Like, they have deficiencies where you need to pinch hit for guys and play matchup.
Absolutely. And we know Marsh, late in the game, and there's a lefty on the mound. I can't imagine you want him facing that lefty in the 8th inning of a big situation. You're probably going to want somebody. They don't have that guy right now if Rojas is the guy you're platooning with. So, you wonder if that's something they've overlooked in this situation. The only RBI they have all season long from a pinch hitter is from David Dahl in London.
It's amazing.
I happened to be at that game, by the way. Yeah. What are the chances?
And you remember because you were there.
I saw the only pinch hit RBI of the season. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad's coverage of the Phillies in redoctoberphilly.com. Make sure you check out the newsletter. And, we're going to be at October soon. We're crossing over to the dog days of August. Tuesday, tomorrow, 6 o'clock, will be the trade deadline. We'll see if Dave Dombrowski has another move up his sleeve. My intuition, Bob Wankel says, yes, he will.
Yeah, I'm with you. We'll see.
Good stuff, my man. I'll talk to you.
All right, man. Talk soon.
All right, Bob Wankel, Red October Philly. Check out the newsletter, of course. You get it for free. It's a free newsletter with all the Philly stuff you need, and you got it right here on the Sports Bash.